Hey, She Slayers, this is a special sample cut from this week's episode. If you find this interesting, be sure to make time to go listen to the entire episode released this past Sunday. And please be sure to help a girl out and follow or subscribe to this podcast. So, where do we need to start with, like, if you're someone who's never heard of Stoicism, like, what is it? Where does it kind of originate from? You don't have to give us a history lesson, just kind of in general to your knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah. And I won't get this perfect. And I can give directions on like where to start in terms
Yeah.
of learning about it. So it comes from like the ancient Roman times, isn't it? Like it stretches back to like 350 BC to the more modern Stoics were like around 150 or 200 AD. And the most famous ones that you'll hear all the time is like Marcus Aurelius, who was the ruler of the Roman Empire. He was a great, what they call philosopher king. And he didn't write necessarily publicly about this, but we have his diaries, basically his personal meditations.
Real personal.
Yeah, it is. But like that's what makes it. That's why I think a lot of people are drawn to it, is because
He wasn't doing it to like
he
become
wasn't doing
famous.
it, and he had all the power in the world. Like literally, the most powerful man in the world was still trying to do right. He was trying to do things with what they call the core cardinal virtues of Stoicism, which are wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance.
But he did, like, somebody before him write those down?
Yeah,
Or
yeah. So he was a student of the Stoics. So like Epictetus is another one that you'll hear a lot of. Like he was a teacher to emperors. So like all of these kings and emperors were they had training just like you would now. So like say you were like the prince of a Middle Eastern country. A lot of them like go through economics training, language training. They send them over to like Harvard to like learn, and then they come back and like bring all that wisdom and still apply it to their kingdom.
Okay.
So that was still going on. That was going on in ancient times as well. So they would have like philosopher training. They would have philosophy.
Okay.
Now, how those emperors applied that was wildly different. So like Marcus Aurelius was trained in it and lived his life by these principles. Nero also had a very famous teacher and was an absolute maniac. So it's very telling and very cool, and that's why Marcus Aurelius is so famous within this, is because he could have done anything he wanted, and his predecessors and the people who came after him, including his own son, were complete monsters, despite them all getting similar training. But he actually put the philosophy into action in some really extreme examples too, that made it kind of very famous and cool. It's kind of like how the most famous people in religious circles are often the people who like truly walk the walk, like the Gandhis, who like did come from some privilege, but like absolutely made himself subservient to display the message of his faith.
Okay, you
The
said
Mother
like
Teresa's like,
you said extreme example. Do you have, like, what's an extreme example?
so I can't remember all the details, but he was betrayed by one of his own like generals and forgave him. Like, I think the guy ended up dying anyway, but he was in the process of forgiving someone who was trying to overthrow him and not like immediately put him to death.
Okay.
Like, you want to talk about forgiveness? That's forgiveness.
But forgiveness isn't one of the four principles.
But justice is, and wisdom is.
Well,
And having
justice
them.
seems like that general had some shit coming to him.
Mhm.
Um, when we women hear on our algorithm, what's your Roman Empire? Are men upset? Are they talking about like Stoicism? Does Stoicism and Joe Rogan and Zins and jujitsu all like come in a package deal?
Um, yes. I think it's one of those things that as you start to get down, like where those things intersect, other than Zins probably, is this idea of self-reliance and self-control. So I think the whole like kind of bro workout culture is like I'm in charge of my body and I'm in charge of my decisions. That gets into like the good, like what some people might call toxic masculinity, but I think there's a very good side to masculinity of like,
That we lost while labeling it all toxic.
Yeah. It's one of those things of people think like if you want to learn to fight, to like defend yourself or be able to be scary, they think that's means you want to go out and beat someone up. But I always like the phrase, it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. Like it's not it's not bravery or humbleness to not practice violence when you can't practice violence. So if you're a weakling and you go like, I'm a pacifist, it's like, no, you're not. You're a punch. Like you're not making that choice. But if you are capable of physically imposing your will on someone or beating someone up and you go like, I choose not to because I have a philosophy that I don't want to hurt someone. Now you've made a choice.
That was a really good answer. Like, okay, all right, this is taking a fun little turn. All right, so then like the point was kind of like, what are some of these main things that we're dipping our toes into, and how do we like apply them in an entrepreneur's world?
Okay. So I wrote down just a few like quote or like principle things that
Is
I
memento
like.
mori one of them?
It's not necessarily in there, but it can be covered under Amor Fati. So if you want to start there.
Okay, we can start there.
So Amor Fati it translates to love of fate. So this is one, if you've ever heard of like the obstacle is the way.
Mm-hmm.
So many of these principles kind of get back into like if you're it's very Zen, like this where
Mm-hmm.
it crossover into like Buddhism of like the only pain you actually are experiencing mentally is the difference between your desire and reality. If you just accepted what's going on, because that's what actual reality is, and you can't fight what's happening, or if you stopped fighting what's happening, you would be a lot more peaceful and a lot less angry, a lot less sad, a lot less anxious. So, this embracing fate and what's happening and looking for the opportunity in it. So this is where any business or personal setbacks, like you can't change the past. So like we'll do a chiropractic example of like your biggest insurance provider who all of your patients use changed their rules. They changed their fee schedules. They changed how many visits
Mm-hmm.
that people are allowed to do. You can spend all your time being miserable and going like this sucks and I'm ruined and I don't know what to do and all that energy is wasted. Like
Right.
you're not going to change the insurance company. But what can you do? How is this an opportunity? Is this an opportunity to get out of network with insurance? Is this an opportunity to better educate your patients so that they understand the value of chiropractic beyond the visits that you maybe weren't doing? Maybe you wanted to be giving people truly the care plans that they wanted and needed, and that's 36 visits, but you've been tempering yourself down to 20. And now, because of this change, you have to get out of network, and that makes you a better chiropractor and a better communicator and actually helps the people who are your patients even more. Like,
So you said that like the phrase is a love of fate.
mhm,
So what I'm hearing is like, because there's kind of like two aspects to this. It's like the realization that like we we cause ourselves pain by just not accepting what is. I love that of like your
mhm,
numbers aren't as good as you think they should be. And
mhm,
so you are feeling all this. But then the other aspect of like the love of fate, I feel like there's this other thing where it's like the Edisons, I learned 99
mhm.
ways to not make a light bulb, or like something wrong happened and you said, you say thank you, right? Like,
Yeah.
isn't that something you've said?
Yeah, we've talked about that before, like the Jocko Willink thing of like, good, like now I
Oh, yeah.
know. Now
Yeah.
I know that this doesn't work. And I have the opportunity, like I have a new set of knowledge and I now know that this doesn't work. So what are we going to do with that? Like, where am I going to pivot? What do we do next? Like, thank you for this lesson.
Does
Like,
that
let's
like
get to
kind of
work. Yeah, that's all.
categorize
That's
in this?
all. Yeah. And so like, yeah, this is where that's why Stoic philosophy is like really popular among like business coaches. It's popular among sports coaches and also just personal everyday like philosophy. So like that's where the Joe Rogan, the sports mind, the
Well, just
Navy
even that,
SEAL mind.
just that one principle, again, like most philosophy sucks, but like this is like, it's so practical and you can't, and like it's like tangible, like just this one you can be like, mm-hmm, yep, I am causing myself pain. And you can see how you do this through business and life when things aren't adding up. I just realized this because I'm finishing Mel Robbins' book, Let Them.
Okay.
So good, by the way. Love it. Let Them is the vagina version of Stoicism. Like, I
Oh
think
yeah.
it's like there's going to be all of these, like, she doesn't bring up, I don't think she brings up Stoicism in it, but like, it's kind of like those principles of just like, oh, I don't have control over that and I'm causing me pain. So,
Yeah, like it's Byron Katie, who's like a great mindfulness like teacher and person for like getting over trauma. It's the is it true? And like turning it around and like
mhm.
realizing what's actually true and what you can actually do about it.